Okay, so just a quick agenda. So I'm just going to go through a brief introduction and tell you guys what it is that we're going to be covering, etc. And then we're actually going to have a look at what's new with Dynamics Business Central 2022 Release Wave 1. And then we'll have some time towards the end for some questions and answers. Just about myself. My name is Bernie. I am a Microsoft certified trainer. I've been a Microsoft certified trainer on this product, Business Central, its previous releases as well in the Vision since 1997. Before that, I was also a Microsoft certified trainer training in the NT351, NT4 days. And Woody, hi. Sorry, guys, some people came in and interrupted me over here. Been training this product for quite some time, still involved in that sort of role. Today, we are representing Liquid Intelligent Technologies and Companion. Basically, what we do is we look after partners. So Liquid Intelligent Technologies on the indirect CSP side of things, look after the licensing and everything else. And Companion looks after partners from everything else. Companion is a new company that was formed when 3 companies merged, One Click Factory, QBS, and Platon. Platon being on the training side of things. They are, if you've ever been onto any of the Microsoft training sites for Business Central, on docs.microsoft.com, when you go to the training over there, all of that training is written by Companion. Most of the training videos that are done for Microsoft is done by Platon as well and Companion. So in the African market, we represent Companion as well as Liquid Intelligent Technologies. So anything that partners need from training, enablement, etc., licensing, everything else, we provide all of those services to partners. And pretty much the partners out there are our customers. I think we've pretty much got mostly partners on the webinar today, but we should have some customers on here as well. If you guys have any questions about anything, please pop them into the question section over there. Okay, so let's have a look at the what's new documentation. There is a short link that Microsoft created for us. And if any of you guys want this presentation, I will pop it into the chat at the end of this webinar. So you guys can download it. If any of you don't get it, my email addresses will be at the end and I can mail this presentation to you guys as well. This presentation, I have made it full of links. So there are basically a whole bunch of links in this presentation, and they will take you to all of the websites that give you all of the information that you will need about absolutely everything about what's new in every release of Microsoft Business Central. So the first thing is what's new documentation. This is where you will find all of the what's new documentation. So if I click on that link, it's actually going to take me to the docs.microsoft.com site, and on this docs.microsoft.com site on the left hand side you will see is the 2022 Release Wave 1 plan, and on the left you will find all of the what's new stuff for sales, marketing, finance and operations, human resources, etc. And down at the bottom over here, if you go to SMB and then Dynamics 365 Business Central, you will find all of the documentation on what's new in this release of Business Central. So 2022 Release Wave 1 Business Central, there is what's new and what's planned. So there's some documentation over there that you can read through that tells you what's actually new and what is actually planned. Now you will see over there that it is available for public preview over there. Certain features have been available for public preview since quite some time ago, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. How does it become available for preview? How do you get access to those previews, etc.? And then over there, you'll see general availability. And for this release, you can see that most of the features actually did make it into 1 April, but some of the features will only be available from the 1 May release. And over here, you can find a list of those features, and then they will tell you exactly which features have been activated at what point in time. There is an overview section right at the top over there as well. The overview section will give you an overview of what's new, etc. There's also an overview guide that you can download. I've actually included that overview guide inside this presentation as well. So when I mail you the presentation, you will get that overview guide as well. So this is your go-to place. This is where you will go to go and find information about what is new in this release of Business Central. So that's where you'll find all of the documentation. Now let's just talk a little bit about these features that gets released and how they get released and how these features actually get enabled and activated for us. So Microsoft has a release cycle, and the release cycle is every 6 months we get a major update. So the major updates are released in October and April of every year. So every year in October and April, you'll get that major update. And then minor updates will then happen on a monthly basis. So from October to April, you will see that November, December, January, February, and March, there will be a minor update. So what happens with some of these features, if you have a look at this, this list, new and planned, that I showed you a little bit earlier on, you'll see over there that blocking, deleting of GL accounts has been available for public preview since the 4th of Jan 2022. So what Microsoft will actually do is they will make those features generally available at an earlier point in time. So already now might be a good idea to start looking at the documentation for what's new, Release Wave 2 2022, because some of those features will be made generally available for us for preview purposes on an early, at an earlier time. So now would be a good time to already start having a look at, don't wait for April every year to start having a look at the Release Wave 1 stuff. Don't wait for October every year to start having a look at the Release Wave 2 stuff. That is a website that you can already go to and start having a look at much earlier and before. And as partners, that's part of your responsibility to just get up to speed with this type of documentation on a regular basis. So if you want to learn more about this feature management and how they how it gets released, etc. I've included a link in there for you as well. If you click on that link, it will take you to, why does this link not want to work out of my presentation now? Okay, but that link will take you to a web page that will actually tell you more about this release cycle, how it becomes available ahead of time, etc., and how you can activate those features. There is also, in other words, these features that are made generally available for you, you can actually activate those in the feature management page. So let me quickly just go and show you guys where you would go to actually activate that. Within Business Central, sorry, I left the page open over there. I just went there to see what it looked like before the time. So if you go in Business Central and you just look for feature management, that will open the feature management page. And then when a feature is released for general availability, you can actually enable or preview that feature over there. So if it says enabled for none over there, it means that that feature is not enabled in Business Central. If it says that it is enabled for all users, then that means that that feature is actually activated. So what we generally suggest you do is go into your Business Central Admin Center, create a sandbox environment, okay? And then inside that sandbox environment, go and activate those features. One of the things about these features is that these features, once they are activated, some of them can be deactivated, but there are some of these features that once you actually activate them, you cannot deactivate them again. So this is something where you, as the users, or even as the partners managing stuff for your customers, can actually control which features are actually released into your environments at what point in time. Just watch out that you don't activate features for your users that cannot be deactivated. You will get a warning when you switch to all users over there, okay? See this feature, for instance, after you enable this feature for all users, you cannot turn it off again. Okay, this is because the feature may include changes to your data and may initiate upgrades. So once that data has actually been upgraded, you cannot move backwards. and move to a state in which the database was before. The only thing you can do is actually restore a backup if you did want to go back to something that or to a state before you activated that specific feature. Most of the features won't break anything in Business Central. I mean, for the most part, you're just activating new features, but make sure that you know what those features are and you've read up about them before you actually just go and activate those features. And then once again, I've included the link at the bottom over there. If you just look up feature management under Business Central, under docs.microsoft.com, you'll actually find it in there as well. It will explain everything about this feature management and how it works. So you don't actually have to wait for version 20 to be released to activate some of these features that become available. If I go back to this page over here, you'll see that blocking the deletion of GL accounts, you could have activated that since the 4th of Jan this year already. Auto accepting transactions in intercompany journals, you could have activated that since the 4th of Feb already. Okay, so new features isn't the only thing that changes in every release of Business Central. There's also features that gets taken away. Now, deprecated features, that doesn't really impact much from an end user perspective. Deprecated features is something that actually impacts us from a developer's perspective much more. What's happened is Microsoft has actually started changing the way in which code is written within Business Central. It's something that we had to do when we moved to cloud and extensions. A lot of the features in Business Central, for instance, doesn't lend itself very well towards extensibility. So, for instance, the way in which option field is implemented in the development environment doesn't lend itself very well to extensibility. So they've changed that, and they've started changing Business Central all of the option fields to what's called an enum field. So in other words, what Microsoft now has to do is all of the option fields implemented everywhere within the system, they have to change that. Now, I have included 2 links on the right-hand side over here where you can actually go and see, firstly, the top link that I've included over there. Some other reason now that I don't control click, I just click on them. Deprecated features in the base app. So in other words, there is a page on docs.microsoft.com that you can go to that will tell you what is all the deprecated features in the base app. So the key over here will tell you what has been moved, what has been removed, and what has been replaced. There is also changes for 2022 release wave 1. Will be marked as obsolete pending in release wave 2022. So new things have been marked. You'll see there XBRL reporting intercompany setup page. So there's a whole bunch of features that will be marked for removal in the 2022 release wave 1. And then, of course, in every release, Microsoft goes and the features that they have marked previously as being marked for removal, those features have now been removed. So what I've also done is I've actually included a link to one of our blogs over here. With every release of Business Central, we release a blog where we tell you what are the changes that has actually happened within Business Central. So you'll see over here, the 2022 release wave 1 blog hasn't been released yet. But here's, for instance, the one that we did for 2021 release wave 2. And just to show you guys the extent of features, so here is the count of pending obsolete functionality. So when we went to Business Central version 15, there were 40 pending obsolete state functionalities within the system. That went up to 60. It went up to 464 features in Business Central version 17. But then, of course, once we moved from 17 to 18, Microsoft generally gives us quite a bit of time once they've marked something for removal. Okay, so generally they say they will give us 1 year, but in practice, generally I found that a lot of features actually do give us quite a bit more time. So you'll see over there, of that 40 and that 60 features that was marked for removal at that point in time, some of those features, obviously, when we moved from 17 to 18, has actually been removed. And then when we moved from 18 to 19, some more of those features have actually been removed. Of course, with every release, Microsoft is marking new features as being to be deprecated, but there's a lot of features that actually gets removed. And you can see over here, starting with BC version 15, if we take that as a base, how many objects has changed with every version? Okay, how many enum objects have actually been created for us with every version? So the amount of changes that Microsoft's bringing into the system is getting more and more with every version that they're actually releasing. Of course, customers that are remaining on older versions, it makes the upgrades a little bit more complicated as well. But of course, Microsoft includes all the tools, everything that we need to actually do those upgrades. Okay, now, for every release of Business Central, Microsoft releases a preview 1 month before the actual release date. Okay, so this is a screenshot that I took out of one of my training manuals, because when I started prepping for the webinar, we'd already passed the preview for version 20. So because the preview, because version 20 is released on the 1st of April, that means that Microsoft will generally make the preview for version 20 available on 1 March. So from 1 March, if you go into the admin center over here in Business Central, so if you go into Business Central, we go into the admin center, and you say, I'd like to create a new environment, okay? And of course, I have got 1 production and 3 sandbox environments in here, so I can't click on new. Let's just try. Oh no, I've probably maxed out my environments. That's why it's giving me an error over there. But when you click on new, you choose the type of environment that you would like to create as sandbox. You choose your country. And then when you want to choose your version down there, you will see that you've got version 19 and then version 20 and then preview in brackets over there. Now, that is exactly what it says. It's only a preview. You cannot take your existing production environment and upgrade to that preview. If you create a preview environment, that preview environment can also not be upgraded to version 21. So that environment, watch out when you're creating environments. You cannot create a preview environment. I don't think in a production environment. I think you can only create it in a sandbox. But don't create a preview environment when those environments are available and think you can actually upgrade it to a live environment. Those preview environments basically just expire and you delete them when you're actually done using them. Yes, every time 1 month before the release of a new version, you can get access to a preview environment that you can actually go and access over there. Site actually works on version 20, so the preview is released 1 month before. Update then becomes available on the 1st of April. So on 1 April this year, the update is actually released to us and is made available to us, and we can actually start creating new environments with that. Upgrades do not start until about the 8th of the month on which it is released. Okay, so I already wanted to schedule some updates to some of the environments on the 7th of April, but it wasn't available yet. I think it was a day or 2 ago I had a look and it wasn't available yet. So I'm not sure, maybe the South African data center is just running a little bit behind, but we should see the updates become available, or the ability to upgrade your existing environments. So what I'm talking about is over here, for instance, you'll see that this one is one of my demo environments that I've been messing around with quite a bit. So the environments in here was created a while ago, so they're still on version 19.5. But you'll see over there that the available update version doesn't show us that the update to version 20 is actually available yet. So those should be available any day now. Okay, so the update becomes available. 7 days later, Microsoft actually starts making the updates available in the different environments. That doesn't necessarily mean that every environment, because remember, Microsoft has lots of data centers around the world. They start getting those updates ready, and the upgrade window then starts. So you've got the whole of April, the whole of May, and the whole of June to actually do your upgrades. The last scheduled upgrade date should be around June 1st. But generally, I have seen that Microsoft allows the upgrades to sort of go into the month of June. So generally, they make 3 months available, but you'll see that the last date that you can actually schedule your update, they try and keep to about 1 June over there. The only exception to this is if there is some other extension that's actually stopping your environment from being able to be upgraded. Okay, if there's anything that's stopping your environment from being able to be upgraded, you will fall outside of the upgrade window, and Microsoft will probably contact you and ask you to try and sort out that extension to allow it to actually upgrade. If you want to learn more about these upgrade timelines, I've included a link over there. There is actually a Docs Microsoft page that actually explains that entire release cadence and the upgrade cycle and everything that happens, delayed scheduling of updates. Everything you need to know if you want to learn more about that is actually in this article over here. So feel free to have a look at that and learn more about how that actual cycle works. So how does Microsoft actually decide what changes to put into every version? Well, it's actually the community that sort of guides Microsoft along. There's actually a page that you can go to, aka.ms/BC ideas. And if you go onto this page over there, this page will tell you all about what ideas people are suggesting to Microsoft. So you can see over there in general financial management documentation, how many posts people have made onto this page. So all you do is go onto this page, register on this page, and you can actually go and see over there, what people are actually suggesting. So a lot of the stuff that was implemented in Business Central 2022 Release Wave 1 was actually suggestions that came off this page. So if you feel you have a specific suggestion, you want Microsoft to change something in the system, you can come to this page, put a suggestion in here. And then what you can also do is you can go in here and go and read what other people have written. So if I go into financial management, you can see over there, there is some suggestions over here about a dimension correction tool. Okay, and the status about this is actually completed. In other words, this suggestion is actually implemented in Business Central. Go and have a look at some new ideas, completed ideas, etc. You can see that 101 suggestions has actually been implemented into the system. You can also come on here, read articles of what people are suggesting, vote for them. And obviously, it's the ones that gets the most votes at the top over here that Microsoft is actually implementing into the system. So if you want to learn more about BC Ideas, aka.ms/BC Ideas, that's the page that you go to. You can go and read suggestions that other people have made. You can go and make your own suggestions in there. As a community, basically, Microsoft is implementing some of these ideas into Business Central, listening to what the community is actually saying. So, what has actually changed in Business Central? Microsoft is actually, for this release, they've included a PDF file for us. I showed you where to download it a little bit earlier on, but I've actually included it. Okay, so you can open the document from within PowerPoint. While I'm in presenter mode, I can't open the document. So if I double click on it in there, you'll see the document actually opens up. So this is the release overview guide for version 2022 Release Wave 1. Okay. You'll see that there is a PDF over here that even includes a link to a video over there. Link to where you can learn more about the updates. They will talk about all the changes that they've actually done to the system over there. What's new and what's actually planned. This is a document that you can go and read through that gives you a very quick overview of all the changes that Microsoft has actually made to 2022 Release Wave 1. Now, Microsoft actually holds a sort of a webinar where you can actually go and learn. And if you go over here to this aka.ms plan 2022 Release Wave 1 / Business Central, if you go to that link over there, this is where I took you guys a little bit early on. This is the first one of the pages that I showed you. Now on here, if you go to the overview page over there, you can read a quick overview, but towards the end over here, Microsoft actually gives us a link to upcoming events. So within the next month, maybe month and a half or so, Microsoft will have an event where they will get all of the developers that actually develop the different features in 2022 Release Wave 1, where each one of them will present what changes they have actually made to the system. Now, the new event for 2022 Release Wave 1 is not up yet. We're waiting for Microsoft to actually announce it and tell us and send us a link and everything else. But here's the link to the old one. So this was, what was this? This is 2021 Wave 1. So Microsoft will have a similar page to this. You sign up over here. You can actually just sign in over there. And then there will be videos for you to watch on demand. And every single one of the features that you see over here, if you go back to the, oh, it opened it in a different window. If you go back to the features that Microsoft showed us, oh, let me just reopen that one. Okay, every one of these features over here in the overview page will be a different webinar for you to actually attend. Sorry, that's under what's new and planned over here. All of these features. There will be like a 20 to 25 minute video, maybe sometimes up to 40, 45, depending on how complicated the section is. There will be new videos on every one of these features. So in order for me to sit here and in 1 hour, give you guys an overview of exactly every single feature that's new, okay? Microsoft takes 20 to 25 minutes per feature to actually explain everything that's new on there. As soon as that webinar becomes available, we will make sure that we notify you guys about that webinar and the link to it and how to register for it and when it will be, etc. But you'll see that Microsoft actually makes these available for us on demand for quite a time afterwards. So even if you wanted to go back to previous releases of Business Central, the links are still up. So in other words, you can actually still go to those links and sign in and watch those videos on demand on these pages. Let's get back here quickly. Okay, so let's have a look at what has actually changed in Business Central. So let's start going through some of these links over here, and I'll be showing you guys some of the features that are actually new. Let's go to what's new and planned over there. Okay, so there's some new features that's been activated with regards to blocking the deletion of GL accounts. Okay, so I actually read through this feature. I'm not exactly sure, 100% what of this is actually new, because this sounds like features that we have had in the product in the past. We're going to have to just wait for the actual webinar to see exactly what it is, but I think they've just done some enhancements to how the blocking of deletion of GL accounts actually work. So obviously what you don't want is you don't want people just to be able to delete GL accounts. There is a lot of features that has been activated in the product for quite some time, but now those features have just basically been enhanced. That's what I've actually been able to see out of this. When working with intercompany journals, you have the ability to now auto-accept transactions for intercompany journals. So what's always been available within Business Central is you've always had the ability to do intercompany transactions. And then when you send the intercompany transaction to a different company, you've got to log into that company and then accept the transactions in that company. Now, that feature has been put there in case you have two separate accountants. So accountant number one sends the transactions to another company. Accountant number two in the other company then would have to accept those transactions. But if you're the same accountant working in both companies, it actually creates a little bit of extra work for you, because now you've got to log out of this company, log into a different company, go and accept the transactions in there. So what Microsoft has just done is they've just taken that extra step away. So in case you are, for instance, the same accountant, you can actually just automatically accept the transactions in both instances. There is, on the payment reconciliation journal, it wasn't possible for you in the past to do a preview posting. That's now been an
Sorry, Bernie, you've muted yourself.
Okay, sorry, I don't know
Just
how I did
about.
that. Yep.
Just about 10 seconds, that's all.
Ah, okay, perfect. Thanks for letting me know. I don't know how I did that. That was probably some button I pressed on the keyboard or something. Okay. Okay, so they allow sell-to and bill-to customers to be different on jobs. Previously, you could have sell-to and bill-to customers on sales orders, but you couldn't have them on jobs. So that's now been activated on the jobs. Bank account statement report. There's just been some improvements to the bank account statement report. This one over here is actually quite an important one. It's not something that we've had trouble with in South Africa in the past when we only had 14% VAT. But for those people that had setups in the past for 14% VAT and then changed to 15% VAT, here's my version 20. So what they've done for us now is if you go to the general posting setup, for instance, and you had old VAT setups, you now have the ability for a specific VAT setup to block that specific setup. So if you go, let's say you had domestic VAT 14 and domestic VAT 15 over there, you want to block the old VAT 14 so that doesn't get used by mistake. Okay, so it's just the ability to block VAT setups from actually being used if you ever changed your VAT percentage, etc. So that's the feature that was enabled for us over there. Change default company bank accounts on sales and service documents. So what happens is when I print a sales invoice for a specific company in the past, what would happen is when you went to company information over there in Business Central, generally what you would do is in the company information page, you would go and set up your banking details in here, and that would be the banking details that would print on all of your sales documents. So when you did a sales invoice or anything like that, the banking details that you set up on here would be the only banking details that would print on sales documents. And you didn't have the ability to print different bank accounts. So let's say, for instance, you had one bank account that you wanted to use for export. So if the customer is outside of your country, you want one bank account to print on your sales documents. And if the customer is domestic, in other words, in the same country as you are, you want a different bank account details to print on those documents. You couldn't do that in the past. So the new feature actually allows us to print different banking details on different sales documents. Check amounts for proposed payments and settlements. So there's, you'll see that feature. They said March 2022, but it doesn't seem to have been released already. Let's just see. We're having a look at the time. I think I'm going to skip ahead. I've covered the most important ones. There is one feature that I wanted to show you guys that I don't see in this list now. I wonder if they actually removed it off this list. There is a new feature in version 20 where basically in the past, what you had is if you had under your cash management, you were receiving a lot of cash payments from customers. And then you went into the bank and you went to the bank and deposited those different cash payments as one deposit into the bank. You always had this disparity where you couldn't go and credit the customer and debit the bank, because what that would do is that would mean that you would have multiple deposits in your ERP system, and you would have one deposit going into the bank, making your bank recons a little bit more difficult. So the bank deposit feature is a new feature that they've activated in version 20. Now, we've always had workarounds for this in the past. So we would set up some other GL account or some other petty cash bank account. We would receive the money into that petty cash bank account, and then when we did deposits, we would then just do a credit out of the petty cash and a debit out in the actual bank account. But that was a workaround. It wasn't really an elegant solution. Now Microsoft has introduced a very, very elegant solution for us in a very elegant way in which we can actually go and do bank deposits, where we can actually go and say, this, and this customer payment, we put them together and went to the bank and we did one deposit, making your bank recons a lot easier, and also making the ability to reconcile which customer receipts went into which deposits. Okay, so you can go and read more and learn more about that feature on the documentation page. I know that was one of the features that I really wanted to show. Let me just see my notes over here. If you go into the application section on the left-hand side over there, changes to the actual application, you will see in these documents over here, or you could just click on them. So when I click on block deletion of GL accounts over there, it will take me to the full article where I can go and read all about it and what Microsoft's actually changed. You'll see that they have actually included a see also section over there. So if you don't understand what this article does, they will usually include links at the bottom over here to the actual sections where you can go and learn more about that specific section. So let's quickly browse through and let's go back to the overview page. Let's browse through some of the other areas inside. Oh, sorry, that's the what's new and planned section. Let's have a look at some of the other areas. I've given you guys a brief overview of the most important things that's changed in the actual application. Let's go down and see what's changed in the Better with Microsoft 365 section over there. With every single version, we've got enhancements to the Microsoft Teams integration. You'll see that Business Central, every single version, there is new features enabled in the Teams integration. The basic idea of it is just that if you are in a Teams chat, you can actually integrate components out of Business Central into your Teams chat quite easily. There's some new features for you to be able to share a file through OneDrive. So in Business Central, if you have a report in your report inbox, or you have certain files in Business Central that you would like to share, you can actually share that file through OneDrive through Business Central. Just making shareability and accessibility of files and things through Business Central a little bit easier. There has been integration, the integration with Outlook. So if you ever use the Outlook integration, that's the ability to access Business Central information straight in your email. There was some issues and things with regards to how it actually added email attachments, and also when you use the pop-out feature. So when you are inside your email and you're working with Business Central, it opens Business Central in a very small window on the side. And then there was a pop-out button which would allow it to open up in a bigger window if you wanted to see things a little bit better. So there's been some enhancements as to how that works and what is available through that as well. Then, of course, you have your different country and regional changes, but this will be for the different versions. Now, you'll see over there that country and regional expansion for us in the African market. Business Central is now available in Angola. You'll see if you go through the list over there, let's just see which other African countries are included in there. Zimbabwe, Angola, Zimbabwe, and Mauritius is now available for us in our regions. And you'll see quite a big expansion in the African and South American markets, where Business Central is now actually made available in those countries. And they're made available through partner localization programs with Microsoft. So if Business Central is not available in your country and you'd like to make it available, you can always start discussions with Microsoft for some through partner localization to make sure that it meets all of the legislative criteria in your different countries, to ensure that Business Central is actually made available there. From a development perspective, there's actually been quite a couple of changes in there. One of the things that's always been fairly lacking with Business Central is demo data. The problem that Microsoft actually got stuck with in terms of the demo data is the fact that the demo database is about 500 megabytes in size. So if you have a look at just this demo environment that I've created over here, I am running one. I don't know why this thing is giving me errors now, but let's quickly see if I reopen the admin center. Probably because it logged me out. There we go. I was inactive for too long. So in here, you can see I'm already running 4 different demo environments. I'm running 1 production and 3 sandbox demo environments. Now, if I included demo data, that's already 2 gigabytes worth of demo data that I'm actually using up over there if the database was 500 megs big. So what Microsoft did, and if you've ever done any demo on Business Central, you would have realized that, for instance, if you go into fixed assets, and you're busy doing a demo to a customer, and you go into fixed assets, there's no fixed assets in the system. There's no production orders, there's no service orders, there's no anything in there that you need in order to be able to do a demo. So the Business Central Cloud demo data has always been pretty lacking because Microsoft created a much smaller demo database for the cloud environment. If you imagine how many partners there are out there and how many employees there are at all the partners and how many demo environments they actually create, and customers can create demo environments and partners can create demo environments, you're talking about a good couple of thousand demo environments. Now, if that demo database is 500 megs big times a couple of thousand, the figure is actually in the 100,000s plus. A bigger demo database means a heck of a lot more database space that Microsoft needs to provision for demo environments. That's why they reduced the size of the demo database for cloud. Now, the on-prem demo database still has the full demo data on it, the full 500 meg database with fixed assets and bill of materials and production orders and everything else. But that's something that's always been lacking on the cloud environment. So what Microsoft has now introduced for us is they've now introduced the ability for us to create a demo tool that creates demo data for us for manufacturing scenarios. So if you wanted to do a manufacturing demo to a customer, you can actually use the demo tool to go and create demo data for us. So that creates demo data for us in a company called the Contoso Coffee Demo. And if you have been around in the Business Central / Navision space for long enough, you guys would have come across some video YouTube videos and read a couple of blogs, you would have definitely come across Johannes Gudmundsson before. And this looks exactly like a tool that Johannes Gudmundsson actually created. So I think what Microsoft has done is they have taken Johannes's tool and they've actually just implemented it for us to be able to use to create demo data. I haven't had enough time to actually go and play with this in detail. But this looks like a brilliant tool that's going to make life a little bit easier for us in terms of being able to actually just demo the system. Let's see. There's some new reporting events that's been created for us. So from a developer's perspective, in terms of extending reports, the new reporting events is definitely going to make life a little bit easier for us in terms of being able to extend reports. There's quite a bit of changes that's been done in the governance and administration side of things. You'll see that security administrators and things, there's some new changes for that. There's a whole bunch of things in here for telemetry as well. Telemetry upgrades. Telemetry has been a big thing within Microsoft. If you haven't started using telemetry, you don't know what it is and you don't know how to use it, how to implement it, you can always contact me. I always do the telemetry as part of the installation and configuration course, but I can do a separate sort of half day to 3/4 day where I can explain to you guys how to actually utilize the telemetry on Business Central. There's telemetry available for both on-prem as well as cloud. And Microsoft's made quite a bit of changes to the telemetry features, etc., in Business Central, as well as some of the security features. And the policies has been extended as well in order to control who actually is allowed to send email from within Business Central. One of the deprecated features in version 20 is actually the old SMTP email. So I can't remember the exact version, but it's about 3 or 4 versions ago. Microsoft introduced a new email feature. So previously it was only possible for us to activate and send SMTP emails out of Business Central. With the new feature, Microsoft activated full Office 365 integration, the ability to send emails as a single user or as the actual user that's logged in, or as different email addresses being used for different features, etc. So big upgrade to the email facilities in Business Central, but the old SMTP email wasn't deprecated immediately. It was marked for deletion. And now in version 20, the old SMTP feature is actually being deprecated, and the new feature has actually been extended to actually activate new features in there as well, including security control over who's allowed to send emails, etc. You'll see that there's some more integration into the Microsoft Power Platform, some Dataverse, data change events, etc. that's been created for us. For the modern clients, you'll see that there is a copy link feature that's been added, and some usability improvements. From an onboarding perspective, there's been quite a couple of changes in there. In other words, you would have seen all of these things from Microsoft being changed over the years, getting started, hi, meet Business Central, show demo tours, all sorts of things like that. Every time you open a new window that you've never been to before, so if I click on vendors over there, I just created this environment this morning, so it should bring up the sort of tours. See there, about vendors, okay? So it's got these tours that's been activated on all the windows, etc. So some of these usability features has been extended by Microsoft, and some new features been added onto there. There's some reporting features that's been added for us. From the actual service and platform perspective, you'll see some more telemetry features being added on the service and platform features over there. New events being added to the telemetry. What is actually logged to the telemetry features. And that's it. So that's pretty much what Microsoft has actually extended into the system. I see we are on, I want to leave about 10 minutes for Q&A right at the end. So that's basically what Microsoft has changed. Like I said, if you'd like a copy of this presentation with all of the links and everything that I've included in here, just contact me and I will gladly get a copy of this to you. I will throw it into the chat. Hopefully you guys will be able to download it from there. And let's throw this open to some questions and answers. There is a link to my LinkedIn page on the right-hand side over there, QR code, if you guys want to just scan that, or just go to linkedin.com/in/BernieD123. If you want to get a hold of me, I've got my email addresses up there as well, both Companion and Liquid Telecom up there. You're more than welcome to contact me. I'll send a copy of this presentation to you guys as well. Let's see if we've got any questions so far in the chat. Nothing so far in there. Okay, I hope the presentation was that good, that I answered all the questions that you guys have about the release of 2022 Release Wave 1. And what we're waiting for at the moment is this conference from Microsoft, where they will show us all of the new features and demo all the new features for us and everything else. And as soon as we have that information, of course, we will share that with you guys as well.
Just one question there, Bernie.
Yeah.
What is the difference between an upgrade and an update?
Okay, so Microsoft actually uses the term. So when they talk about an update, so the update that they have available at the moment is this version over there is an update that is available. So 2022 Release Wave 1 is the latest update for Business Central. You'll see, and if we go back to the update over there, so see they say the update is available. So the update is when they refer to a specific version. So 2022 Release Wave 1 is the update. And then even when we go back to, it's on a different window, that one. So when we go to, where does it show us it's a specific screen I'm looking for now. Oh, there we go. So you'll see over there that this has got the major updates and the minor updates. So an update is a version of Business Central. So version 19 and version 20 is updates, and then 19.1, 19.2, 19.3. That's when they refer to an update, they refer to that version or the version number. Now, an upgrade is actually the process of taking the old version number and upgrading to the latest version number. So the terminology is used pretty interchangeably, but update actually refers to the version, and upgrade is the process of going from an old version to a new version. Okay, so what actually happens during that upgrade process is Microsoft generally would make some changes to the system. So if I can just quickly show you guys over here. Let's see if I open a okay. Okay. So what we will be making available for you guys as well is we will be making available some training that you guys can come and attend to attend the latest boot camp. I don't know, Microsoft's going to change this whole whiteboard thing again. Brooke has also mentioned in the chat over there, so you will be able to register for a Business Central Bootcamp training that we will be offering soon. If you guys would like any training on how to get going with Business Central, we'll be offering training very soon with regards to that. So if you've got a release, so Microsoft just released version number 19 in October last year, and then in November, on 1 November, they made version 19.1 available for us. Okay, so version 19.1 was available on 1 November, and when you make a change from version 19 to 19.1, Microsoft will generally make certain changes. Like for instance, over here we had a table, and in that table there was a specific field, and there's certain data actually sitting inside that field. Now, if that data changes with a next version, now generally Microsoft won't make data changes with a small release, with a minor release. They will only make data changes with a major release. So when we go from version 19 to version 20, this type of change might actually happen. Now, if the type of data actually changes, what Microsoft does is they actually create a new field over there, and then they write code that actually says, now go and read the data out of this table, convert the data, and then write the data into this field, into the same table, or even into a different table if they're splitting tables into different areas. So the process of actually going through an upgrade is actually executing this upgrade code that makes the data changes to the actual system. Okay. It's a little bit more of a technical answer, but I hope that that actually answers your question as well.
Bernie, since we've just got a couple of minutes left, do you think maybe you could just speak to Rapid Start and the training that we're going to be giving?
Okay.
Maybe
perfect.
just a brief overview.
So Microsoft actually introduced in Business Central what they initially coined the rapid implementation methodology. And the rapid implementation methodology wasn't just a methodology, but it actually came with some tools inside the actual product to help us migrate and implement the system a little bit quicker. Microsoft also saw and realized that out of I think the figure at that stage when they did the rapid implementation tool was about 140,000 customers worldwide, and the average customer size was about 8 users. Now, Business Central was more aimed at a mid-market where the implementation, the amount of effort to actually put in a system like that was actually quite a bit more than you would have for a small tool, maybe something like a Xero that's aimed at sort of your 1-2 users. So Microsoft wanted to compete a little bit more with a smaller market. So what they did was they started introducing this rapid implementation tool into Business Central. And the name of the tool in Business Central now completely escapes me. I still call it the RIM Toolkit or the Rapid Implementation Methodology Toolkit, but they actually changed the name recently in the system. So what we have done is we have actually put together some training. We used to call the training Live in a Day. It's a little bit deceptive because you're not really going to go live in one day. But the idea is to bring the implementation time down to as little time as possible. And you could pretty much take a customer live within 4 to 5 days. Now, the traditional Navision partners will look at that and go, that's not possible at all. But we've actually done that. We've taken some smaller partners that have traditionally implemented smaller systems. And we have trained them on Business Central and then trained them on this tool, the Rapid Implementation Tool. And the training course is still called Live in a Day, just because we've never come up with a different name for it. But we take you through this training course where we teach you how to put in Business Central in the shortest time as possible. And we have actually got partners in South Africa. And we actually took this from QBS, who have successfully implemented this in Europe as well, where they've got partners doing implementations in like 3, 4, 5 days. Here in South Africa, we're also doing it in about 5 days at the moment. And this partner specifically that we've activated, they're starting to actually pick up some pace with us, where they're doing like 3, 4 implementations a month at the moment with Business Central. So we have that training available as well for you guys, where we can teach you how to put in Business Central in a shorter space of time as possible. Brooke, we have scheduled that course, hey?
Yep, so the link's in the chat. So
Okay.
It's not live yet. It will be later today. So if
Okay.
you want to then, anyone that would like to register interest, we've got it scheduled in actually for next week. But we'll see how many registrations we get, and then we can really confirm when and where we're going to do it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we've got like 3 minutes remaining. Feel free to type your questions in there. I'll even remain on a minute or two after if I haven't answered all the questions. But if you guys have any more questions, throw them on there. And thanks for joining us. I hope that we have given you guys some good information over here, and that you know how the release cycle works for Business Central. You know where to find all the information about the release of Business Central 2022 Release Wave 1. And like I said, I will make the presentation available in the chat just now. As soon as I'm done talking, I will actually just save it, dump it into the chat where you can download it. If you can't get a hold of it, you've got my contact details. I'll throw it up on the screen again, just over there for you guys. You can contact